listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Another edition of the GM Shuffle. Marc Malusis in for the vacationing Dave Ross. Geoff Schwartz, of course. And the GM Shuffle is presented to you by DraftKings. DraftKings, the crown is yours. What's going on, Geoff? It's great that training camps are in full force. How are you?
I am good. Dave is making his way across the country. He is moving, as we know now. So I wish him the best of luck in that. But, Marc, we have NFL training camp practices with full pads on. So we're getting all the videos of that. And on Thursday, the Hall of Fame game is here. I'll watch every snap of that game. I might not know the four-string players. I do not care. Football is back. And I'm so excited to be here with you to talk about all of this.
Yeah, no doubt, Geoff. And I'm happy to be with you as well, filling in for Dave. Let's start with some of the headlines going on around the National Football League. Let's start our journey in Los Angeles. The Chargers signing star tackle Rashan Slater to a 4-year, $114 million contract extension. 92 of that is guaranteed, Geoff.
Good for Slater. He was sort of the last guy from this class to get his big contract. As we know, like Penei Sewell got his already, and Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith got theirs, and Quinn Miners got his. So it was about time for Slater to get paid. The Chargers are building quite a formidable tackle combination with Slater and Alt there to protect Herbert for the near future. So good for everyone involved here. Slater was an all-pro, I believe, ended up being his rookie year, got hurt, came back, obviously, new coaching staff now. So, look, I'm so excited when these guys get paid. It's obviously life-changing money and well-deserved for Slater. Made sense to get it done. And now you have your left tackle for hopefully the rest of Herbert's career.
Yeah, that's what Jim Harbaugh believes in out in Los Angeles, is winning the battles up front. And as you mentioned, a dynamic tackle combination out there in Los Angeles for their star quarterback in Justin Herbert. How about in Cleveland, Geoff? Quarterback Kenny Pickett suffered a mild hamstring injury over the weekend. That's according to Ian Rappaport from the NFL Network. So I guess we won't be charting his throws here moving forward during camp.
Okay. This is the dumbest thing that we do. Not we. Me and you don't do this, Marc. Everyone else does this, okay?
I don't chart throws. I do a lot of dumb things, but one of the things I don't chart throws.
Well, first off, Joe Flacco, in my opinion, was always winning this job, so this just kind of settles it in my mind. Now the competition is for second string between Gabriel and Sanders. Having access to these training camps is awesome for the fans, correct? We get to see videos and reports of our favorite players and teams, or maybe of an interesting storyline. You get to see all of it every day. But what it has led to is an overanalyzation of everything that we ever see from training camp, to the point where we're charting training camp throws in Browns practice. This quarterback did this quarterback did that. We have to understand the context of all of this, right? Like Joe Flacco is with the starting offense. It's in his 800th year, okay? He should have a good training camp practice, okay? A rookie quarterback who has not played before with the third string or fourth string offensive line and running backs and wide receivers might have a tougher day than the first string quarterback. You have to grade it on that scale. There are also days where you're working on specific things. There are times when a quarterback is told, we are working on throwing the ball deep today. I want you to launch the ball down the field every chance you get. That's going to lead to more interceptions. That doesn't mean he had a bad practice. It just is what the practice emphasis is for the day, right? And I actually think, Marc, sometimes that I judge quarterbacks that they throw no interceptions, because you have to take chances in this league to be good. You're good at throwing interceptions. In practice is the best time to work on throwing those interceptions. So I think all this is nonsense. It's good just, I guess, for the fans to keep abreast of what's happening. But quarterback charting is getting out of hand. I'm done with it.
Let me ask you, if you go away from like a veteran like Flacco, right? Been there, done that, you know exactly where Joe Flacco is and what he is as a quarterback now. Is it fair to look at the way quarterbacks, say, a Cam Ward or a Jackson Dart, the way that they look early on in practice? Like, what's the proper perspective to put into for guys that have never been through a training camp before?
Well, and this is really tough, right? Because I like the eye test. I know it sounds silly, but like, do they look like they belong? You know, like, do they look like they belong? But the thing is, we're not getting the practice film, like the actual film, the all 22. So I can't tell you whether or not that was a bad read, whether or not that defense made a better play, what they're working on, that specific install. I mean, it's possible that the Cam Ward is getting a brand new concept and he's learning that concept against a defense that he might have not seen that concept before. Is it throw an interception or two? Like, that's part of what practice is for. It's practice. You're working on things. So now, if it's a week's worth of Cam Ward is throwing 4 interceptions of practice, probably an issue, right? It's going to be a problem.
Yes.
But we haven't seen that yet for any of these quarterbacks. But again, they're working through things. And so you're going to see guys throw interceptions during camp. The defense gets paid also, believe it or not. They get paid to make plays as well. And they're working on things also. So also, too, it's worth noting, defenders a lot of times cheat in practice. And by cheat, I mean they get to play beforehand. Like, there's a script, right? The practice is scripted out. So the offense
they
is
know
doing
what's
this.
coming.
The defense is doing this. The guys on defense often read the script before practice. We don't do it on offense because we need to sort of be, quote unquote, surprised by what's happening. That's the way the game works. You should notice that in team drills where there's no script, 2-minute, move the field type of stuff, the defense does far worse in practice. It always works this way. Those guys, they cheat. They look at the play sheet beforehand. When you see move the ball drills, they tend to not do as well. There's reasons for that.
All right, let's go to the ATL, the Falcons, right? Quarterback situation. We know that they invested in the defensive line, especially edge rushers in the NFL draft. One of those guys was the talented James Pierce coming out of Tennessee, involved in a couple scuffles, Geoff, that we see during the heat, early days in training camp. Pierce involved in those. You see him, especially when you have practices between two different teams, which has become a thing now in the National Football League. But what do you make of the scuffles during camp?
Okay, I have many thoughts on scuffles, and I'm going to share a story of my own. So when you have a young player like this, the report essentially was that he was fighting different offensive linemen. A lot of times that comes down to, buddy, stop. Like, you're a rookie, you're going a little bit too hard, like, just stop. And his defensive coordinator said as well, like, there's a time and a place for the fighting. He was getting a little too aggressive because you want to have a working relationship, right? You want to be able to work against your teammates to get better without trying to fight every single play. That's not a productive practice, okay? Now, there are certain times when fights have to happen. They typically don't happen the first couple of days of camp. You still like each other then. Like, day 10, you've been hitting on each other for a week now. Fights are going to happen. Now, I will say this, though. There are times when fights are needed just because you hate each other after 7 days and it's a good time to throw hands. There's also sometimes when a fight is needed to get the attention of coaches. This is true. I was talking to a buddy of mine who said that he advised one of his players he was working with that your coach wants to see some more toughness out of you. Start a fight early in training camp. And I had this happen with me as well. In 2011, I'm with the Panthers. We had a brand new coaching staff. I was having a bad training camp. Okay, Mark, wasn't playing. I turned out I was hurt. I was need to have surgery. No one cares about that. But I wasn't playing well. My offensive line coach at the time loved fights. He wanted a training camp fight a day. That's what he thought tough offensive linemen were. And I'm not that big into fighting. I had one in college, a couple in high school. I was not playing good. So I thought to myself, you know what, Mark? I'm going to start a fight at practice today. And I did. Started a fight at practice. And my coach loved it.
Who'd you pick? Who'd you pick to fight with?
Dan Connor, our linebacker. I knew Dan well. We were the same draft class. So basically what happened was we'd like 9-on-7 or something like that. I blocked him. I shoved him late. He shoved me back. And we fought. Big team brawl. I was tackled at one point. My helmet came off, like just throwing punches everywhere. My coach afterwards was like, "Attaboy, Schwartzy. Good job here." But the funny part is, not funny, it pissed me off to no end. We get back in the meeting room, okay? And training camp fights are not shown on the practice film. They never are. They're cut off. They don't show it to us. So we get to practice, to watch practice film with as an offensive line. And all you see on the film is I shove Dan late, right? He shoves me in the back and the film cuts off. And my coach MF'd me for like 7 minutes straight for not starting a fight. He'd call me soft and all these mean words I can't repeat, like berating me. Like, I've never been berated more by a coach. And I fought the guy. The fight happened. It actually happened, Mark.
And he's still
I'm
berating you.
oh, dude, I'm red and like in tears. I'm so angry. I've never been more angry in my life in a football field. And after the meeting, he goes, he said, "Hey, Schwartz, stay back for a second." So everyone leaves and he goes, "Hey, man, I know you fought that guy. I just wanted to like send a message to our offensive line." I was not happy. We did not see eye to eye, me and that said offensive line coach. It wasn't great. It was not great. But my point is, there are times fights happen for purposes of showing toughness. Yes. There are times fights happen because rookies can't contain themselves and you have to put a rookie in their place. There are times when fight happens because you're hot and angry. It's been 11 straight days of hitting each other. There are, the joint practice fights, I don't quite understand. It's like a game. Like, you wouldn't fight during a game. Why would you fight it in a joint practice? It's not different. You're just doing reps against each other. Yeah, you're going to talk. You're going to push and shove afterwards, but the escalating to fight seems too much in those moments for me. But they do happen.
My question is, when you're going to start an altercation, do you have to make sure you pick the right opponent?
Oh yeah. Like you're not starting against we played the Ravens. Okay. No, this is not about a fight per se, but we played the Ravens and Haloti Ngata was on the Ravens. And I know Haloti from college and we put it together in college. We shared it with locker mates and all this stuff. And like, the thing was like, you just never pissed off Haloti. Like, you never wanted to get that guy angry when you played him. So he would be a guy that I would not want to fight in practice. Like, Haloti is who's not a guy you pick a fight with in practice. It's just not. Now,
right.
You might have to fight him because it escalates to that in practice. Like, that just happens, right? You might have to do it, but he's not the guy you choose to fight in practice. Okay. It's that simple. So It does happen. I'm sure Haloti's been in a fight or two in practice and with an offensive lineman, but that's not the guy you choose to fight when you have a chance.
All right, we got the GM Shuffle this week. We're going to run through each and every division, AFC, NFC, pick the top storyline as camps are getting going across the National Football League. Marc Malusis in for Dave Ross, of course, the great Geoff Schwartz. This is the GM Shuffle, presented to you by the DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
This is the GM Shuffle. Marc Malusis in for Dave Ross, of course, Geoff Schwartz, as training camps are open around the National Football League. And if you like what you're hearing on the GM Shuffle, there's even more at VSiN Pro. Betting splits, power ratings, sharp analysis, all for just $9.99 your first month. Go to VSiN.com/subscribe and check out all the subscription options. So love the stories we got about fights in training camp from Geoff in the opening segment of the program today, Geoff. And let's run around the National Football League. We'll start our journey in the AFC, top storylines in each division. And let's start in the AFC East, where the Bills are the overwhelming favorites. New regime with the New York Jets, new head coach in New England with Mike Vrabel, and obviously, what do you make of the Miami Dolphins? If I ask you, Geoff, your top storyline in the AFC East is what?
It's Buffalo. Is this the year, Mark? Is it finally the year to beat Kansas City in the postseason? But they can do the regular season. Like, we know that. It's there. It's the postseason. And they're close. It's not like they get blown out every year. They're very close. And so the question I have with Buffalo is, what do you do, if anything, different in the regular season to prepare to play Kansas City in the postseason? I argue nothing. You don't change anything, because you're winning a ton of games. You're winning the division. You beat them in the regular season. In the postseason, it typically is one or two mistakes that happen. And I'm not sure those are mistakes that get cleaned up during the regular season. If you keep taking enough swings at the tree, eventually you knock it down. You think eventually it falls down. Yeah. Maybe not. But to me, it's all about Buffalo. It's, what do they do this season to get themselves ready? Now, defensively, they got guys back from injury, which will be super helpful, right? I like what they've done offensively. They have a really good offensive line, which should be super helpful this season. I love the way they use James Cook now and figure out a run game around the weapons they have. How do you make sure Josh Allen gets to the finish line feeling healthy, feeling invigorated, all those things? So to me, it's about Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I don't think there's, aside from injuries and Josh Allen and significant injuries, say along the defense, I don't think there's anybody that's going to compete in the AFC East to knock off the Buffalo Bills. It's going to be a building block year when you're looking at Vrabel and the Patriots. The Jets are trying to find themselves and clean up and really fumigate the building now with Aaron Glenn as their head coach. I agree. And the Miami Dolphins, make of Miami what you will. It's kind of a hodgepodge group of players there for Mike McDaniel. It's the Bills. And you would think, Geoff, at some point in time, if you take enough swings, that it's finally going to be your year to get through the AFC. I mean, Allen wins the MVP of the league a year ago. They spent a lot of money during the course of the offseason. They brought in Joey Bosa. They brought in Palmer. They re-signed some key players of their own as well on both sides of the football. So you would think all signs are pointing. They're building a brand spanking new stadium up there in Buffalo. You would think at some point in time we're going to see one of the great quarterbacks in the league get through the AFC and get themselves to a Super Bowl. But until you see it, there's a lot of people that aren't necessarily going to believe it.
I agree. And they're knocking on the door, man. They're right there. They lose by 3 in the postseason, they lose by 6 in the postseason. They're right there. Also, too, I think getting home field advantage this season, I know the Chiefs have won road playoff games before, but that's not going to be a bad thing to play this game in Buffalo come January. So that should be a goal of theirs this season as well.
All right, how about the AFC North? We know the Kings of the North are the Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson and Harbaugh is their head coach, and what they are on both sides of the football. Derrick Henry running it. The Ravens have got to obviously figure out if they can take what they do in the regular season into the postseason. If I ask you the biggest storyline that you're following through training camp is involving which team in the AFC North?
I mean, I think it's got to be the Bengals, right, Mark? Defensively, what are they going to become? They got Shamar Stewart back in training camp, which is good, and he looked like a rookie the first couple of days without pads. I mean, that is what it is. And then Hendrickson, like, he's not even there. He's not even doing a hold in. We see guys like Terry McLaurin. We'll talk about him later, I believe. He's holding in. He's there, but just not practicing. Trey Hendrickson's not even there. He's just gone. He is out. He's like, I'm not doing this, right? Those are mistakes a franchise who wants to win cannot make. Give him his second year guaranteed. Get him back in the building. Their offensive line has not been good for years now. They have been one of the lowest graded offensive lines according to PFF. They get a ton of pressures. Joe Burrow makes it work, but at some point, those hits take a toll. How much better is the offensive line going to be in training camp? They got some young players that hope to get up to speed quickly. They've already had, I believe, an injury, a right guard already in training camp. And so to me, it's about the development on defense. Do we see it? How quickly does it happen? And can their offensive line just be better this season? I know they hope they have a new offensive line coach with Scott Peters that it is better, but the results have not been there.
No, the results have not been there. And, I look at, can Burrow make up for all those deficiencies? Like, you look at the Bengals defense, and fair point about Hendrickson not even being there. And Stewart was a storyline that should never have been, or a headache that should never have been there for the Cincinnati Bengals, but it was for a little bit. But it's great that, he's part of camp. The question I have, Geoff, is when I look at Burrow, how much can he continue to go out there and make up for? He's got Chase, he's got Higgins. You mentioned the offensive line. Can the defense be competent? Like last year, the defense was really non-competitive, right? They really were. Can they overcome, get rid of the early season struggles that we've seen from Cincinnati? Usually they're playing their best football at the end of the season, but they dig themselves such a hole early on that it becomes next to impossible for them to dig themselves out of. Remember last year going into the playoffs, everyone was like, well, Cincinnati is the one team that nobody in the AFC wants to go out there and see. That's great, but what does that get you in the offseason when you're not part of the NFL playoffs? It gets you absolutely nothing. Great. I mean, we were dangerous at the end of the year, but we weren't good enough during the regular season to make it to the playoffs. What does that do for me? So, question here is for, you've got the playmakers on offense. You've got an exquisite quarterback in Burrow. You've been to a Super Bowl before. Can that defense go out there and be competent? I agree with you. I think that's the biggest storyline outside of, instead of, say, Pittsburgh and Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin.
I'm glad you mentioned that. The dumbest thing ever is the most dangerous team that doesn't make the postseason. Congratulations. Do you hang the banner for that, Mark? Does that go up in their stadium? Well, dangerous team did not make the postseason. You didn't make the postseason for a reason. Your defense was atrocious. That's why you didn't make the postseason. And yes, that is the problem for them, right? Is how quickly can this get up to speed and you feel comfortable. And also for them, you got to start faster. Every year they start slow. It puts them behind. It puts more onus on Joe Burrow having to do too much. So can you start faster this season? Big year for them to make this happen. Everyone's getting a year older. Now, defensively, again, they're younger on defense. They have time there, but you're just getting older, and you want to do this as soon as possible. And we'll see how it goes for them this season.
All right, how about the AFC South? I mean, there's storylines abound, right? Cam Ward down in Tennessee. What version, Geoff, are we going to see now from C.J. Stroud? He was brilliant, took the NFL by storm rookie year. Last year, a little bit of a regression from the talented Texans quarterback. You go to Indianapolis, is it going to be Anthony Richardson? Is it going to be Daniel Jones at quarterback? Obviously, you've got a coach in Shane Steichen that knows how to design an offense. And then you go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Once again, another head coach. This time, Liam Cohen, all the drama with him leaving Tampa Bay as their offensive coordinator, become the Jaguars head coach. And will this finally be the year that Trevor Lawrence, now with a new head coach, offensive-minded head coach, with an investment in the offense, will this be the year that Trevor Lawrence puts everything together down in Jacksonville? Which team, which storyline strikes your fancy, Geoff?
Oh, Jacksonville. Absolutely here. Because I look, contractually, probably near impossible. But if he doesn't play well this season, there's a chance he's not on the team next season, right? Think about this.
Yeah.
This head coach and GM did not draft him. They have no ties to Trevor Lawrence whatsoever. If they can't get him playing the level that he needs to play at to win Super Bowls, they will try to move off of him and get a first-round pick and start over again at that position. There's no emotional tie to him. And Liam Cohen has done a good job on offense wherever he has been. So if he can't get the most out of Trevor Lawrence, this will be his third coach already. If you are that good as a quarterback, Mark, or would you be on your third coach? Like, there's, I think, legitimately concerns about, and I think Trevor Lawrence is supposed to be the truth and the next, this guy and that guy, and it might still get there. Year one did not help with his coaching staff. Absolutely true. Well, Doug Peterson got the most out of Carson Wentz and Nick Foles. Did he forget how to coach offense all of a sudden? There are limitations to the team, I think, offensive line-wise. They have enough playmakers on offense now, right? Even if Travis Hunter is not an offensive player, you have Brian Thomas Jr., you have Brown from Washington. Like, you have enough dudes to make a functional offense. You have good running backs. So what do we see from Trevor Lawrence this season is my biggest question of this division.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, I think Lawrence is is on the verge of becoming the great what if guy, right? What if, you didn't handle the coaching the way that you did, right? What if you made some better draft choices? What if you built the offensive line? Because we could all talk about the physical gifts of Trevor Lawrence, but it's getting late soon here for Trevor Lawrence. We really are, because he's not been able to put it together. It's a long time since, we saw him crack in to the, superstardom as a college quarterback with the Clemson Tigers in the ACC. It really is. And everyone looked at him as being, the best, NFL quarterback prospect in 20 years, right? I mean, everyone was talking about Trevor Lawrence and how great he was going to be. And fair point. They've run through a lot of coaches down there in Jacksonville, and this might be it. For him, if he doesn't figure it out. He's got to stay healthy. He's got to stay on the field. And he's got to stop turning the football over as well. And they've got weapons for him. Thomas is a hell of a second-year receiver coming out of LSU. He had a great breakthrough year a year ago. We'll see exactly how they use Hunter offensively and defensively after they moved up into the NFL draft. And now they've got Liam Cohen, who decided to leave Tampa, did wonders a year ago. And now that's two straight offensive coordinators that Baker Mayfield has helped get jobs in the National Football League.
It's great to be Tampa's offensive coordinator. I'll tell you that. Look, everything they have gone not out of their way, but they have gone to the way of helping Trevor Lawrence in the draft, in free agency a little bit, and a head coach. Now it's his job to show them whether or not he is going to be the quarterback in the future for this front office and head coach. And he's got 1 year to prove that, Mark.
You think he does?
I'm 50-50 on it. I don't know. I am not of the opinion that quarterbacks routinely get better not later in their careers, but sort of are what you are. And I'm not certain we're going to see something much different with Trevor Lawrence.
that we have seen already, and that's not going to be good enough down in Jacksonville. We'll hit the AFC West, hit upon the NFC next as well. He's Geoff Schwartz. I'm Marc Malusis. It is the GM Shuffle, presented to you by the DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Welcome back to the GM Shuffle. Marc Malusis and Geoff Schwartz with you. And Geoff, let's continue our journey in the AFC West, where obviously you've got what has been the standard of the National Football League, the Kansas City Chiefs with Mahomes and Andy Reid, the Los Angeles Chargers. We talked about the re-signing of Slater, giving him a contract extension. Harbaugh, year 2. Denver with Peyton and Bo Nix at quarterback, year 2 for that combination. And obviously a new regime out in Vegas with Pete Carroll and Geno Smith as their starting quarterback, with Ashton Genty looking to do big things his rookie year, the former Boise State star. If I was asking you, Geoff, biggest storyline that you're following early on in camp here involving AFC West teams, where you're looking?
Well, the story to me is Kansas City still. And the story might be, can anyone catch Kansas City? But what can Kansas City be if the parts all come together? So, for example, Josh Simmons was their first round pick out of Ohio State left tackle. All right. He October 12th against my Ducks, he got hurt, right? Patella tendon, wasn't great. At the time, he was considered O tackle 1 for this draft. Chiefs got him into the first round. He's in full pad starting left tackle for the Chiefs already. Okay. It's a big boost to have Josh Simmons at left tackle playing now. The offensive line, I know they lose Joe Thuney, and that's a spot that they got to figure out with Sue Matia most likely. But if you have Simmons locking down left tackle, your offensive line is better than last season. It's better already. So that's one positive, okay? Last season, Rashee Rice had 30 catches before he got hurt a week 4. He was the workhorse. He was so much better between year 1 and year 2, the first 3 weeks of the season. Then he got hurt, right, Mark? He got hurt at a time when the Chiefs did not have Hollywood Brown either. Hollywood Brown was hurt. And then Xavier Worthy's a rookie. So Travis Kelce took the workload that I don't think they thought he was going to have. Go look at his targets the first 3 weeks. It wasn't what it was the rest of the season. Kelce was supposed to be not an auxiliary part, but not the number 1 target. That was Rashee Rice. Guess who's back? Rashee Rice is back. Hollywood Brown is back. Worthy into year 2. And Travis Kelce looks like he lost 20 pounds. I think it's fair to say last summer, I'm not judging him. I would have done the same thing. He was traveling with his girlfriend, going to all her concerts. And look at a ton of fun. I wish I could afford to go to one of her concerts. It would have been a ton of fun. He was living the good life. He came back to camp a little bit pudgier than he looks this year. Okay. He looks to be in much better shape this season. So to me, the Chiefs are better this year. They're a better team. They're better offensively, and the explosive pass plays are coming back. If you add that to just a quality defense, which is what they've had over the years, Mark, this is a better team than the one that went to the Super Bowl last season.
Yeah, and Travis Kelce, not only a little trimmed down, he's also gone back to his original haircut. He's got the shave, so the high fade and the crew cut. So he's getting rid of the shaggy hair that he was wearing, reminiscent of the Beatles. My question about the offense is, Mahomes has talked about this offseason for Kansas City that the aerial attack is going to be better. How much better do you think the aerial attack will be in 2025 for the Kansas City Chiefs, Geoff?
Well, it can't get worse. So literally it was 32nd. Explosive pass plays last season. It's interesting. So they were 32nd explosive pass plays, but I think 5th in success rate. So it was a very functional offense that's missing that deep throw. If you put Xavier Worthy back in this offense in year 2 with Hollywood Brown, you're going to have the aerial threat. And then you have Rashee Rice working the slot and underneath. It's a very formidable receiving core when everyone is healthy. Mahomes can still throw the ball deep. Just they didn't do it a lot last season, so he wasn't great at it. I think it comes back this season.
All right, let's jump over to the NFC. Let's start our journey in the NFC East, where you have the defending Super Bowl champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. Is there a little bit of Super Bowl hangover? Everybody's buzzy team, the Washington Commanders, after what we saw year one for Jaden Daniels and Dan Quinn, the new regime down there in our nation's capital, are really fairly playing their games out in Maryland. Dak is back with a new head coach and Brian Schottenheimer down in Dallas. And then you've got the New York Giants and hot seats for Brian Daboll, Joe Shane, with Abdul Carter now rushing the quarterback, and a quarterback that they're looking to develop in Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss. What's the biggest storyline for you, Geoff, when involving NFC East teams?
The Cowboys, the red meat right there, Mark. I'm gonna eat it. I'm gonna eat the red meat of Cowboys. Look, okay. So here's the thing, though. When we talk about previewing teams, okay, I like to look at the game records. Essentially, if I was going to Wednesday morning, I'm meeting with the head coach. We are as a team, not just me, but we're meeting as a team. And the coach puts up a slide. Okay, it says who are the game records, right? Who are the players that can ruin the game for us? The Cowboys have a lot of them. George Pickens can ruin a game, right? The offensive linemen, they have a good offensive line. Tyler Smith, all pro. Gutting into year two. Booker in year one. Steele is good. Right, Ferguson's not probably a game wrecker, but a good quality tight end. Dak Prescott will be up in the game wrecker list. Okay, defensively, Micah Parsons, game wrecker. Diggs, like they have enough of these guys to be a good football team. The question is, can the staff get the most out of Dak Prescott? Is there enough in the running back room offensively to feel comfortable with that part of your team? Right. Linebacker, I think they're young at linebacker. They added Murray as well. Like, as a linebacker core, I don't consider Micah Parsons, by the way, to be a linebacker. He might be listed sometimes as a linebacker. He's a pass rusher. Is the secondary as a whole good enough? I think it is. But if you get the most out of Dak, Mark, this could be a sneaky good team. Now, I don't trust the coaching staff. I don't really like Schottenheimer's head coach, but 8.5 wins and a playoff team, I think if Dak is back to himself, is very, very doable.
Yeah, and they've got an improved running back room as well, with Javonte Williams coming over from Denver, Miles Sanders, as compared to where the running back room was a year ago, which was downright terrible. I'm in agreement with you when you take a look at the Dallas Cowboys being the biggest storyline. Obviously, they are America's team, and they've got a tremendous fan base. I think it's going to be intriguing, and any team obviously owned by Jerry Jones is going to be intriguing. NFC North, I think I love the division, Geoff. I mean, how do you not? When you've got Detroit, change of both coordinators. Both of them got head coaching jobs in the National Football League. Ben Johnson with the Bears, Aaron Glenn with the New York Jets. Issues are replacing some guys like Frank Ragnow along the offensive line. You've got Green Bay. What version of Jordan Love are we going to get now for the Green Bay Packers? New regime in Chicago, year 2 for Caleb Williams, year 1 as a head coach for Ben Johnson. And then J.J. McCarthy is the starting quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings, where you don't really have questions about Minnesota's roster outside of what exactly is J.J. McCarthy going to be in the National Football League. We know what he was at Michigan. He was a national championship winning quarterback. What is he going to be now, really, year 1 as a starting quarterback in the NFL? What storylines are you looking at, Geoff?
There are so many in this division. You mentioned a lot of them, right? Caleb Williams, year 2, new regime there. The Lions lose coordinators and offensive line, and all those things are absolutely true. But to me, maybe the storyline, not of the league, but a team that hinges on one player like J.J. McCarthy and the Vikings. This is a very, very good football team around the quarterback. If you were to take the 3 wide receivers, Jefferson, Addison, Naylor, name me another 3 that deep. It's hard. It's hard to find 3 that deep. TJ Hawkinson, very good tight end, correct? So we know, skill guys. Aaron Jones, you got Mason Taylor from the Niners, good skill guys. Offensive line, if they're healthy, Darisaw comes back with Jackson at left guard now in the draft from Ohio State. You added Freeze and Ryan Kelly and Brian O'Neill. Like, top 5 worthy offensive line, everything gels back together. Defensively, we saw them last season. A very good defense. They added Jonathan Allen and Hargrave. Like, Mark, it's such a good team. We know Kevin O'Connell, good coach, great coach. We know this. What about J.J. McCarthy? a guy that wasn't asked to do very much in college, might have the same role in Minnesota, just don't screw it up. I'm of the opinion that it's better for quarterbacks to wait to play than rush into play. It just always is, right? And so I would generally like McCarthy waiting to play till year 2. But the problem is, Mark, he didn't practice last season. He was hurt. So it's basically like a rookie all over again in year 2. And I'm just concerned about how quickly he can get up to speed and play at the level this team needs to win. If he can do it early in his career, this is a very good football team. It might be one of the better ones in all of the NFL. But I just don't know if McCarthy is at that point right now.
Let me ask you, some of those concerns alleviated by what the head coach in Minnesota has been able to do with other quarterbacks? Rejuvenated the career of Sam Darnold. He got paid by the Seattle Seahawks in the offseason. What he did with, obviously, Kirk Cousins has shown himself to be a very good quarterback when healthy in the National Football League. But don't you have the right spot in terms of, I've got a head coach that knows how to use quarterbacks, put them in a position to go out there and be successful. And even though, as we're sitting here, doing the show, and we have no idea what J.J. McCarthy is going to be week 1 for the Minnesota Vikings, but some of those concerns are alleviated because of the brilliance of the head coach.
For me, yes. I don't know if McCarthy just feels that confidently about it as a young player. I think he probably does. But yes, I mean, we've seen him have success with all different types of quarterback. But Darnold, again, veteran guy. Like he know he wasn't great elsewhere, but he had been through the ropes before. McCarthy there's just going to be a learning curve for a young quarterback. It's that simple. And no matter how many training camp throws we see that are good, if you search his name on social media, there's like interceptions, there's good throws, there's bad throws. That's the life of a rookie quarterback. Can you get him to a point where he feels very comfortable? He doesn't try to do too much. Doesn't have to think he has to do too much, and really doesn't screw things up for you guys.
Does J.J. McCarthy have to have a great year for Minnesota to win the division, or does he just have to be good?
I think it'd be tough to win the division just being good. That feels like unless if the Lions, we consider Lions being healthy again, the Packers taking a little bit of a step forward, Mark. It does feel like good is not going to be enough to win the division. Now, does he have to be like the best in the NFL? No, but he's got to play well. He's got to maybe probably be a little bit above good for this team to win the division.
I love the NFC North. I mean, it's just, the storylines are crazy. I mean, you got quality teams. You got each and every team you kind of delve into and dive into. The NFC North, to me, is the most tantalizing division in the National Football League. We'll continue our journey in the NFC. We'll hit upon the South and the NFC West as well. Touch upon McVay and the Los Angeles Rams. This is the GM Shuffle, presented to you by the DraftKings Network.
You're listening to the GM Shuffle, presented by DraftKings and VSiN.
Welcome back to the GM Shuffle. Marc Malusis, Geoff Schwartz with you. I'm in for the vacationing off. He's moving, actually. That is Dave Ross, who joins Geoff each and every week right here on the GM Shuffle. Geoff, we've ran through 6 of the 8 divisions. We got 2 more to go through here in the NFC. And let's start in the South. New Orleans, who might end up having the worst record in the NFL this year. New head coach, new regime, questions of the quarterback play. Atlanta, an interesting collection of talent. You've got the staple of the NFC South, and that is Baker and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And then one of your former teams, the Carolina Panthers. What's the biggest storyline when you look at the NFC South?
I think it's going to be Atlanta. Even though I've said this many times, I'm very high on the Panthers, but I don't. They kind of feel boring, the Panthers do, which is probably good. The Falcons don't feel boring. They feel like they're a team with Michael Penix in year 2, the Cousins situation. Cousins, I think, might still get dealt at some point somewhere. But look, the Michael Penix we saw last year showed some real areas of brilliance. He should then in college as well. The weapons are pretty good, right? They're there to make him better. Pitts at tight end, is he more of a wide receiver than a tight end? And then obviously the running back room is very strong with Robinson and Algier. Like the pieces are in place for offensively there to not be, either a drop off from what Cousins was supposed to be, or what we saw at the end of last season. We should see Penix continue to play better into year 2.
Let me ask you, though, Geoff, have they done enough on defense? We talked a little bit earlier on about fights. James Pierce, the rookie out of Tennessee, has been involved in a couple scuffles early on in training camp, right? And love the stories from Geoff earlier on in the show. Jalen Walker, have they done enough on defense to address the areas of need from a year ago to be a respectable defense?
We'll find out, won't we? I mean, they added 2 guys in the draft, right? We talked about Pierce earlier, and they got Jalen Walker, who, look, I talked to some teams before the draft. Jalen Walker, in their mind, was the best football player of the pass rushers. He didn't pass rush a ton at Georgia, so he's got to work into that here in Atlanta. And then James Pierce, obviously, they added him. They added a couple guys in free agency. I believe they added Fox, and they added Leonard Floyd. So, they have to, if they want to be the team that they Marc end up trying to be. They got to be better on defense. Well, time will only tell. Look, they've added pieces, right? They've added the players there. Just have to show they can do it now.
How about the NFC West, Geoff, which I find intriguing because I think the best team in the NFC West is the Los Angeles Rams, right? I think the team that wins the division might be the San Francisco 49ers because their schedule is just so downright easy. Then you throw in Seattle. They've got a new quarterback in Sam Darnold. Similar weapons, no DK Metcalf. Jackson Smith and Jigba takes a step up to be their number one target. And then you've got the Arizona Cardinals and a quarterback that I think has been better in theory than reality when you're looking at Kyler Murray at quarterback. So what do you make of this NFC West? Which storyline early on here in camp involving those teams are you most intrigued by?
So I'm glad you mentioned the sort of oddity of the way people feel about the Rams and Niners. I've said this for weeks now, for months. I think that the Niners win the division, but the Rams make a deeper playoff run. I think the Rams are just better, but the schedule for the Niners is just so easy that they're going to be better. So to me, the story is the 49ers, right? Because they should win the division based on their schedule, but they are a team propped up by older superstars that are very high paid. And if they lose a couple of these guys, the team is going to fall apart again. Okay. They have just sort of failed to draft well for years now. And it's coming back to haunt them. Now, they didn't have a ton of picks either because of the Trey Lance trade and whatnot, the Trey Lance draft, but they got Brent Ayuk, top of the game, Trent Williams, top, Kittle, McCaffrey, Juszczyk, like all these guys, the best of their position, right? Or close to the best of the position. You talk about Bosa and you add in Fred Warner, like top of the top. But you lose a couple of those guys, man. What do you become? What is your team?
Yeah, there's
not a lot of guys.
Right, there's no depth. Right, it's a very, very top-heavy roster when you're looking at it.
So that's how do you navigate that this season? And again, they should set themselves up with their schedule to win the division. But if they don't, there's some issues there. You've now paid Purdy. So it's harder to get free agents and harder to pay your own players and whatnot. But I'm going to watch them with a close eye this year.
What do you think Purdy's going to be this year?
What he's been in his career? Good quarterback, efficient, solid in the offense, but he's not a guy who is as physically gifted as a lot of his counterparts, and I think it does hold him back at times. But Shanahan, again, he's a great designer of offenses. There's never been a doubt that he can design an offense. But it's those special moments in games that Purdy has shown the ability to be really good in. But can they block for that? Can they block for those moments, which has been a problem, right? Under Shanahan? And then will he have the presence and the people around him to make those plays?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen the regression in the roster, and Geoff ran through it eloquently, of the San Francisco 49ers. They still have a brilliant head coach in Kyle Shanahan, and then you get to the Los Angeles Rams, who I think at the end of the year are going to be the most dangerous team within this division. Couple storylines that we haven't hit upon yet in this program or this edition of the GM Shuffle. Let's go to Washington. We've hit upon the NFC East. We both agreed that the biggest storyline is involving Dak and the Dallas Cowboys. But how about the Washington Commanders? After a really successful year one with Jaden Daniels as their quarterback, Dan Quinn as their head coach, made some significant acquisitions in the offseason. Deebo Samuel from the 49ers, added a new left tackle as well in a big trade with the Houston Texans, bringing in Laramie Tunsil. Curious about what's your take on Terry McLaurin. We brought up Trey Hendrickson. He's not there with the Cincinnati Bengals. He wants a new contract. Terry McLaurin wants a new contract, but he's on the physically unable to perform list. He's reported to camp, but he is sitting in with an ankle injury.
Oh, I'll tell you what, man, the ankle injury is going to feel a lot better when his guaranteed money comes in. I'll tell you, he'll be off that PUP list immediately, buddy. Off immediately. No, look, so the new CBA a few years ago, there were a lot of changes. One of them was training camp fines are unrescindable. You have to pay them. It used to be you go to training camp, you don't go to training camp, you get fined, the team can rescind that fine, or they would add it maybe to like a sign-in bonus and you'd be made whole. You cannot do that anymore. That's why we see a lot of sit-ins, because McClure doesn't want to get fined $50K a day. The Commanders do want him there, right? They want him in the building. They want him to re-sign. And so you work out a deal where you go on PUP for an ankle injury that I promise you, man, that sprained ankle, Mark, that swelling, that discomfort goes away super fast after that big contract extension he's going to get at some point. So this is a way to amicably work it out, right? To say, hey, man, we're here. We want to play from his side. The Commanders are welcoming him back in the building as a leader, someone that they want to build the offense around in year two of Jaden Daniels. And Trey Hendrickson is doing the opposite approach, which is, man, I've had a career. I've made my money before. I'm at the point of my career now where I want this amount of money guaranteed or I'm not going to be here. And he's trying to make it contentious because he wants to get that second year guarantee, which the Bengals seem to rarely do. So two different situations here. But look, I think McLaurin gets it worked out at some point. And I think just the first step of being there and just sort of being in the building will help that process, and he'll get his extension.
All right, how about to Houston, Geoff and Joe Mixon? He is dealing with an ankle injury or foot injury, I should say, that could cause him to miss time during the course of the regular season. How big of a hit would that be for Houston, CJ Stroud, and that offense?
It'd be a hit. He was good last year for them. And they have Nick Chubb there, and I saw that people now are betting Nick Chubb to win comeback player of the year and take his over rushing number. Players in year two typically recover right off an injury better than year one. So Nick Chubb, make the argument, last year was a little going down year for him. I think he only averaged like 3.5 yards a carry, but coming off that really bad knee injury, you expect the year two to be better. The problem in Houston is their offensive line is not good.
No,
so
it's terrible.
With the offensive line being bad, I worry about Nick Chubb. I don't know if he has the same level of athleticism and quickness and cut and burst to play with a bad offensive line. And so that's my concern for Houston's run game. As Mixon is out, can Chubb do as well without a poor offensive line? Or with a poor offensive line, I should say.
Last big news coming out of Florham Park, New Jersey, involving the New York Jets, and that is Justin Fields. Geoff, I'm not a big Justin Fields fan, but he had a teammate step on his toe last week, dislocation, and he was back in 11-on-11 drills on Monday, full go in practice for the New York Jets. Aaron Glenn has spoken glowingly of him. New regime for the New York Jets. Not much drama, not many leaks coming out of that building now. And now they've got a quarterback in Justin Fields who's got freaky deaky athletic ability. There's no doubt about it, but penchant for holding on to the football a little bit too long. Not a great accurate thrower of the football either. What do you make of Justin Fields being back on the practice field and really kind of his journey now as New York Jets starting quarterback?
Yeah, everything you said about him is true. I don't know, just meh. I think that's what the season will be for the Jets. I think Aaron Glenn setting a tone is what happened. I dislocated a big toe, by the way. I was out 3 months, so I don't think he dislocated his big toe here. You do realize when you dislocate your big toe, how important your big toe is. It's a pretty important body part. And I dislocated it against the Jets, oddly enough, in a preseason game. I was out for 3 months. So he must have just done his pinky toe or something, like somewhere he could still be able to run and move and play just fine. He didn't do his big toe. I'll tell you, I did that and tore my plantar plate. It was brutal. But maybe not the most positive way to end here, but I am okay, though. I survived.
You're okay. 3 months you were out with after dislocating your big toe? Could you walk around the house, the apartment?
I'll send you a picture, and maybe you'll think you'll understand why the 3 months.
Oh, I'm not doubting your toughness. I can imagine, Geoff. I'm not doubting that at all. I get it.
It was I tore my plantar plate like underneath the foot.
Yeah.
It just I went on the short-term IR, so I was out for eight weeks. But I did in the preseason. Look, man, my first game back that year, Odell catch game in 2014. How about that?
That was your first game back.
Yeah.
Memorable night out at the Meadowlands, there's no doubt. Hey, Geoff, I really enjoyed it. Filling in for Dave Ross this week. I'll be in for Dave next week as well. It's great that football's back, Geoff.